This tutorial is an end-to-end walkthrough of how to add sentiment analysis to Quickbase applications. For context, let's say that your organization is looking to crowdsource inspection of product displays in your stores. To help analyze the information, you want to detect the sentiment of the comments, for example, whether they are positive or negative, to prioritize which feedback you act on first. We are going to create a simple Quickbase application to capture the comments, and we will integrate it with Amazon Web Services through pipelines to perform the sentiment analysis. The first thing we're going to do is create a table to capture our inspections. Now we're going to create two fields, one to capture the comment, and the second to capture the sentiment detected in the comment. I'm actually going to make the comment a multi-line text field and the sentiment a regular text field. The next thing we're going to do is modify the form to hide the sentiment field, as we're going to populate that field from pipelines using the data returned by our sentiment analysis service. Now that our Quickbase application is set up, we are going to create the serverless application in Amazon that we will connect to through pipelines to detect the sentiment of comments posted to the Quickbase app. After signing into the AWS Management Console, navigate to the Serverless Application repository. Click on Available Applications. Then search for Quickbase Sentiment, and the application shown here should show up. If not, make sure this checkbox is checked. Next, click on the app. Scroll down to configure the parameters. The only parameter we have to configure is the domain prefix used to get access tokens for authentication. This can be anything, but it has to be unique. I'm going to use the application name followed by a random string. Then click the checkbox acknowledging that custom roles are going to be created. Now the application is ready to deploy. You will see Amazon creating all the pieces of the serverless application. This process is sped up in the video, but it usually takes around 60 seconds to complete. Once you see the API endpoint, the application is ready to go. In order to make it easier to set up the pipeline, there is a helper Lambda function that gives you all the settings you will need to configure. Find the function named function metadata and click on the link. To run the function, click the Test tab. Then click the Invoke button. When the function finishes, click Details to see the output. Keep this tab open because it will be useful in a couple of minutes. Now we are going to create the pipeline that triggers when a record is created in our inspections table. Navigate to the Pipelines tab and click the Create a Pipeline button. Choose whatever name you want. I chose Sentiment Analysis. Now I am going to select the Record Created action in the Quickbase channel, which will trigger the pipeline every time a comment is added. I already have the connection to my inspections application set up, but you can refer to the docs to connect pipelines to your application. Next, I am going to select the Inspections table. We are going to use both the comment and sentiment fields in subsequent steps, so select them both. Now we're moving on to the step that consumes our sentiment analysis service. This is where the tab we kept open will be useful. Find the webhooks channel and select the Make Request action. Now we are going to fill in all the values provided by the Lambda function in the tab we left open. Select OAuth 2.0 client credentials as the authentication method. The username and password are the OAuth client ID and client secret, so don't share them with anyone. I deleted the application shortly after creating this video, so don't get any ideas. The token URL is what Pipelines uses to get the access token, which is the temporary credential used to authenticate the request. You should recognize the prefix of the domain as we configured it as a parameter when deploying our serverless app a couple of minutes ago. Optionally, we are going to set the OAuth credentials placement setting to header, and we will leave the default value of no for the disable SSL certificate validation setting. Then we will configure the URL, which is the endpoint of the serverless app that pipelines will send requests to. Set the method to post and the content type to application/JSON. Now we need to craft the body of the request sent to the serverless app. There's an example in the output of the Lambda function that we can use as a starting point. Replace text field with comment or whatever field you want to detect sentiment for. This step is all set. For the final step, we want to take the sentiment returned by our serverless app and update the sentiment field in the record that triggered the pipeline. To do so, we will select the Update Record action in the Quickbase channel. We only have one option, which is the record we want, so select it. Next, we want to add the sentiment field to update it. The response returned by our serverless application is JSON, so we can get the sentiment by referencing the following variable. We should be all set. I'm going to enable the pipeline and then navigate back to my Quickbase app to test it out. Let's add an overly positive comment just to see if it works. Navigating back to our pipeline, we can see it in action. All right, it looks like it finished. The output shows that we received a 200 from our serverless app, which means it was successful. The output also shows that our record was updated. Going back to our Quickbase app, we can see that the comment was correctly tagged as having positive sentiment. Now let's test a negative comment just to make sure. Okay, it looks good. We've just added sentiment analysis to our Quickbase app. I hope that you find creative uses for this capability in your applications, and thanks for watching.